Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with another Endfield video. Except this time, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be about drama. It's going to be about Endfield drama. And it's a drama that I am not involved in at all. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the creator, the Wuwa CC that's apparently been driving so much tribalism across the space, according to Twitter at least, is the guy that's not involved in the first drama ever for this game. And I'm obviously not going to count my hit pieces against Mr. Jokey or Rene. Those guys are just grifters, and I think calling out lying grifters for the lies that they're trying to spread, like getting 120 pulls in 24 hours and garbage like that, yeah, I think calling out stuff like that doesn't necessarily constitute as drama, especially when you're correcting a shit ton of misinfo in the community. That's my personal take on it, because this seems a bit more personal. And so for some context on Kuki, Kaze, and Tobaro, I've read online that they've had a couple of spats before. And if you're not sure about who either of these individuals are, Kuki Kaze is clearly a long-tenured Arknight CC with a lot of videos under his umbrella. You'll be able to see over here, it's actually close to 1,000 surrounding the game. And when it comes to Tobaro, on the other hand, Tobaro is kind of like on the opposite side. While Kuki Kaze focuses more on like guides, focuses more on like helpful content, that sort of stuff, Tobaro is more so on the doom posting angle. And you might remember him from early conversations surrounding the game, where he had videos like the death knell of gacha games because Endfield had a dodge button. And you are the problem with Arknights, Enfield's dodge. Unfortunately, devs listened because they fixed the dodge. And well, I could just show you a little bit of this video. This is him bragging about how he team kills his teammates. In the regular Arknights, he picks units that team kills his teammates in co-op modes. And he made like an entire
decadence. Just clear the level.
He made like an entire like song about it because he needs to brag about being a toxic piece of shit in gacha games. But you could probably already tell he was doing that from his videos. My take is, I already have a bit of a bias against this guy because he does shit like this, right? And I think anyone's generally probably going to have a bias against somebody that brags about team killing their teammates in co-op as like a 20, 30-something-year-old man. I could get it if it was like a 10-year-old in Fortnite or Roblox doing that because they're 10. But coming from like a grown dude who like,
did you know,
looks like this, it's not as like innocent or funny, right? Like when you know that this is what the guy that's doing this looks like. Like, you get what I'm saying, right? So that's why I'm going to have a bit of a bias in this situation, right? Because I just generally think, like, he comes off as a very toxic person. But another thing that I have heard is that, well, he kind of is spitting in this video. He kind of does feel like he's correct about some of the takes that he has. And so I want to have as balanced of a perspective as possible. And we'll probably actually be watching both. But when it comes to this one, you can see it's a fucking long one. So maybe this will be a two-part vid. We're starting off over here, though. And hopefully, there's going to be enough context from Kuki Kaze, all of that, to break down what his misgivings are. Because I don't think a lot of people are going to watch this 1 hour, 30-minute video as preparation for this 10-minute one. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's dive on into it.
I hate having my YouTube feed pop up with a thumbnail of a creator coming at another creator. It's classic drama farming. I really don't want to do that because I'd rather be someone who can have fun, teach people, and entertain people.
So this is his last straw. Oh, he's really pissed then. This is the guy, right, that doesn't do the drama videos, right? And now he's saying, I can no longer hold my silence. This is going to be the first drama video I ever make. And obviously, I think we could, like, check through his channel, but I don't think there's, like, too much of a reason to. I'll take his word for it, because I don't remember this guy ever actually like being in drama. And like, again, you can kind of like see from the channel, no real videos addressing other CCs. He's kind of known as like the nice guy in Arknights. So him speaking out on this, I think there's a reason why this video is going viral.
But this one time, and please be the last time for several years, I am not restraining myself. I want to speak up against Tobaro. Here's the thing. I believe that when you have a conflict with someone, especially as a person on social media, first freaking step, you don't go making a video or a post online. You settle it in call with that person. So I have already tried to deconflict with Tobaro. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And
better man than me. Hey, he's a better man than me. I only do this with some people. I only do this with certain CCs. I don't do it with every single one.
2 of the 3 occurring while live streaming.
And I definitely wouldn't do it knowing the history that these two have together. Because I've actually got a tweet over here from somebody who is like adjacently related to the situation. I'm pretty sure they won't mind me showing this tweet from them. It's basically them just saying, hey, I don't want to get involved in this shit. I've mediated it in the past before. And that's chaotic. I'm posting this here because I don't care enough about this topic to make a video. I am not choosing sides. I know people want me to. I've had words with Kuki, and Tobaro about this in the past. I'm not a drama creator. I don't feel the need to stand up to address this. I agree with blah, 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 whatever. And basically, I think somebody in the space has mediated a conversation between them before. I think it was him. I'm not super sure. But basically, it's just more proof that they've had conflicts in the past. It's just more proof that they've had a lot of conflicts in the past that are basically coming to a head right now.
Every call, what I advise him has always been the same. I respect his criticisms, I even cite some of his criticisms, but I have never once accepted his way of conveying them. Constantly, he will try to justify that his ways are the most suitable to get his message across, to which the question also becomes, what does he want people to agree with? For a lot of people, your first and perhaps also second contact with Tobaro is one of these 2 videos.
This was the first video I have ever seen from him, and it was the first impression that I ever got from him. And my impression from this guy was immediately bad. It was immediately not good. And I think let me just make sure, let me see what I reacted to this video, actually. I reacted to it when it was released very long ago. Endfield Doom posting is out of control. Yeah, that was my initial take to it.
Right.
I thought the dude was just doom posting the game like crazy because he couldn't stop talking about how bad the dodge button was. Yeah, that was my initial take to it. And I think that's where a lot of like this negative sort of like impression, this negative perception of his takes, that's where it came from.
And for a lot of new players of Endfield, it's this video. This is the longest video that Tobaro has ever done. He scripts and edits his videos, which is something I would praise him for. I think he articulated several problems of the game very well. From the tutorial to the story, I say the same things in my personal reviews. Now,
I can agree the tutorial and the story are both awful characteristics of the game.
the number one gripe I have is Tobaro's implanted perspective about the technical test combat. Let me explain.
I see. So Kuki Kaze's main focus over here, I think, is on the fact that Tobaro really, especially in like these videos and stuff, focuses on how amazing Endfield was back in its first test. And how the combat system, the design, and all of that was just straight up better in that first iteration. And then obviously Endfield made a bit of a switch, right, to more action-oriented combat. And the end result was that one side of the equation couldn't really let it go. And the thing is, I think combat is probably the most consistent part of Endfield right now. I am at the end game. I have beat the game. I am now on just like the daily loop and grind. Combat is currently the best part of this game. Everything else is literally worse. The factory, when you get to the end game, is an AFK activity. It's done, right? It's not a shining spot of the game when you're here. There's nothing else to do, really. It's just like you have like FedEx deliveries that you do on the side. You can transfer them to other people and then take them on yourself. But like, that's the other gameplay, but I'm not really going to call that a strong, compelling reason to play the game. The combat's the best part, and that's a little bit rough considering all of the stuff you're supposed to be able to do in this game.
Explain to you what happened in the technical test, which was 2 years ago. This was the first ever live test where I might say that less than 1,000 or even 500 people in the global space got to try. The story and the world, extremely bare bones.
Only 5,000 people got to try it.
I don't think a single person has a good thing to say about it, but that could be expected. Technical test is not there to have a fleshed out world or story. It's to test the core concepts of the game. The combat has one characteristic that is so distinctly different from not only the current game, but also any other big gacha game titles out there. You have the ability to control the range or the area of the skills and ultimate. It's very Xenoblade Chronicles-esque, and it sounds really cool.
You guys don't realize how unfun combat systems like that are until you kind of start playing them. It basically would be like adding an RTS element plus mobile think about people on mobile trying to, like, adjust their area and, like, placement, and then, like, you're going to miss so much because of, like, the target snapping and stuff like that.
I thought that the combat was fun when I also got to try the technical test. It gives a feeling of strategy and closer to Arknights, just like how using someone's skill has a corresponding range.
I think it doesn't fit for the gacha, like, literally the gacha controls.
You can also slow down the combat, allowing you more time to think of your actions.
It's like literally MMORPG targeting. Like, it literally looks like when I'm using skills in Guild Wars 2.
Seeming like a prime example of strategy, Tobaro believes that this combat would have been exceptional if it were the actual version of the game, stating that it would have been more strategy-based and less action-oriented, making it more engaging.
It is without a doubt true it would be more strategy-oriented.
Especially for people who want complexity, more thinking to their game. His latest video brings up this technical test throughout and is concluded by the end. This is not his first rodeo of sending this message. It's not only including the very first big video he made, but for...
And by his most recent video, he's referring to this one. That's like the super large, super massive critique piece on the game.
6 videos in a row across the entire year. I don't really want to encourage people to go there and watch them all. But if you really want to see the narrative he's constructed every 2 months, you're gonna realize that he had harped on this very same thing. Every video is a new iteration, a new script, a reskin of him trying to prove to people that the supposed initial vision of the game would have been the best way for the game to launch.
So basically, what I'm hearing right now is that Tobaro's kind of like leading this charge of what we had in like the first closed beta was the best iteration of it ever. Only 5,000 people in the world had access to it. And so obviously with this lack of info and this lack of like actual testing, we're just going to repeatedly say, and nobody can really prove us right or wrong because so few people played it, right? We're just going to repeatedly say that the old version was better. This reminds me of those individuals from Wuthering Waves, like Ryuku Sensei, who can't stop talking about how much better the CBT1 story was. Where the only feedback Kuro got was that everyone hated the fucking story and that it was terrible and they hated every character. That's the feedback Kuro got from their CBT1, but there are still people telling you it was better when nobody played it and it was, again, tested by like 5,000 people. Same exact script. Lack of knowledge, people abusing the lack of knowledge because nobody tested that version and then proceeding to, right, keep saying the old version was better. Nobody can prove it. It's all hearsay because you can't play that old version anymore.
A lot of people...
It's basically like your grandpa saying, well, back in my day, sonny, I was able to get XYZ at the grocery store. It's like, great, I don't know what that was like because I didn't live back then, motherfucker. Like, what is that? How's that supposed to help me? How's that supposed to help me, bro? Like, I wasn't alive back then. It's not really that relevant, is it, grandpa?
Who watch the videos have in a way sympathized with this messaging and feel a sense of the game not knowing what it's doing or what it could have been.
There is a vid of the Wuwa CBT1 full story and it's ass.
This is the core issue I have. How do you, watching those videos, know that the technical test was better than the current game's launch?
Bro, I don't know what it is. I feel like we kind of think on the same wavelength. Isn't that like literally what I was just saying?
You never played the technical test. Your only basis is actually playing what it is now. You can't go saying, I've tasted apples but never tasted oranges, and therefore, oranges is better than apples, or apples is better than oranges. How does that work? But there's also a sizable proportion that will say, I've tasted apples and I've seen oranges. Therefore, oranges are better than apples. That doesn't make sense. Funnily speaking, this isn't just about how people are comparing the technical tests using Tobaro's videos against the current Endfield. This is also like how people are comparing Endfield to any big gacha game titles. Some are using the words of their favorite content creators as they green or red light to play the game rather than making decisions themselves.
And this is my take. That's why, guys, in pretty much every single Endfield video that I make, I don't really talk about other games. And the only time that I'll talk about other games is comparing gacha rates and percentages and numbers because that's what everyone else keeps fucking doing. And they're like actively spreading misinfo with those numbers. This is like the one guy that actually like did the math properly and then found out Wuthering Waves is better, right? So it's like, I kind of like trust this guy implicitly from that perspective. And what I'll say is that there are a lot of issues with this game. you don't need to bring any tribalism into the situation, any tribalism, like comparisons to other games, into the conversation, because straight up, when you get into the endgame loop and you have basically beaten version 1.0, it might be, like, just genuinely the worst gacha experience I've seen. When your dailies consist of you just, like, being a literal FedEx driver in 2 regions, and you spend 90% of your 30 minutes of playtime just in menus. Bro, like, I'm, like, doing this, man. I'm, like, going, like, I'm just sitting over here micromanaging, like, depots of goods, and then, like, proceeding to go ahead, switch the regions, manage that depot, buy things from this store, and then make sure I'm buying things from other stores. Dude, I, like, fight enemies and, like, use my characters for about 5% of the daily login time. Like, I use my units in combat for like 5 to 10% of the daily login time. That's pretty much all I need to show you, isn't that? You're pulling for all these units, you're earning all this premium currency for units that you literally see on the battlefield, for kits that you're actually using like 10% of your playtime once you reach a certain point in the game. And that's kind of just the truth of it. So yeah, the game does have issues, and they're kind of like issues independent to Endfield. There's no need to really bring in other games because there's plenty of its own problems.
In any case, I've explained why the rhetoric in much of his videos is flawed.
To be fair, that's up some people's avenues. Absolutely. It is. But your dailies don't involve using your characters or using like any of this. And so it's like kind of like the goals and the motivations are kind of completely perpendicular to each other, right? They kind of run into each other. It's like, wait, what's the point of doing my dailies, getting all these resources, doing all this stuff if I'm never going to use my characters?
You have no basis to prove what he says, unfortunately making you inclined to believe him since he's the only guy speaking out loud.
It's the exact same thing with the CBT1 situation in Wuwa. When somebody has an imperfect amount of knowledge and they keep lording their knowledge over you to say that they're correct and nobody can prove them right or wrong, it's basically like an invulnerable position, right? Unless you expose the fact that, hey, they're abusing people's lack of knowledge to make points that can't be counter-proven. An example of this was Genazad, at the release of Wuthering Waves, constantly insinuating that its endgame was worse than punishing Grey Ravens. And what Genazad did was basically understand that nobody played PGR could disprove what he was saying because they didn't have the knowledge. And so he just lied for like 30 minutes in a podcast and abused people's lack of knowledge to make those points. And that is essentially one of the worst ways to argue that the space could ever see.
Any criticisms he makes of the current game, if you played it and feel the same, sure, those are fair, but not the hypotheticals of what could have been being brought up.
Very fair as well.
I never made a video about the technical tests. I don't feel right to do so because I had nothing good to say. I finished it feeling that was not a game for me. If I don't enjoy it, why bother inviting negative sentiments? But for this
is where I'll push back on Kuki. How does he get better then? Unless you share what you don't like about it.
This video, I'm actually going to tell you what I think of the technical test combat. It's fun for a day, perhaps a week, a month, but it's just not going to last. The base
looks like a headache, doesn't it? Just don't lie, it does.
Base building aspect is a big time sink for people, even right now.
It would feel like playing a MOBA mobile game, but you have to play 4 characters at once because you're targeting all their abilities.
Not exactly a necessitated
It's like a MOBA, but you have 8 abilities.
Time sink, since you can use others' blueprints, but a lot of you are choosing to not use others' blueprints and genuinely wanting to build your own. Now imagine pairing the base with the technical test's supposed strategic variant. The combat is going to take more time when every skill needs you to decide a range. In one combat, that's perfectly fine. Can and include a hard boss? Okay. Now take that this is a live service game. The likes where you have to play for months, a year, 5 years even. For every battle that you've experienced in Endfield currently, from the mobs to the dungeons to the bosses, you add about 25 or 50% more of your spent time.
So this can easily be counteracted by reducing the HP of the enemies, to simply make combat take less time. So I don't view this as like a super strong point, because that can technically be fixed by just making characters deal more damage or making enemies less tanky, right? So I'll push back on this one. I don't really think it's a mark against the system.
The time sink is going to become much worse than the factory. You're repetitively in a range deciding screen in your daily dungeons with your same favorite team against the same enemies. Perhaps the sight of a new combat style would have intrigued you early. Finally, a non-Hoyo open world type of combat. But the time for you to become bored of it is so much faster. Imagine that combat against Triagolos or Marble Agglomore. Many of you will be pulling your hairs out if you
I'm currently pulling my hair out right now. Do you know how long these fights take to do in the current version of the game? Bro, these take like a fucking hour. Like, I think people just don't do these because they don't want to. They're not hard, but it's like these fights are like playing a Guitar Hero song on easy, but it lasts an hour. It's not fun. That is the issue with these idiots that keep saying, I want Endgame with no time limits. Then you get Guitar Hero on easy mode for 1 hour. It's so boring. I can get rewards. I just choose not to do them because they take so long and I'm so fucking bored. I have just decided not to do them because I'm so bored of them. They're just not fun. And having to use this system to fight those guys would give me a disease.
You had to constantly play in that slowdown manner. This is not to say that the technical test variant does not work, but I don't think it works in a game you play regularly. It works so well in premium titles, the one-time purchases where the amount of game time you have to spend is fixed and known. You know the gameplay, you paid for the amount of playtime that have level and enemy designs curated, so
I didn't play Final Fantasy XII because it used this combat system and I thought it was the worst fucking thing I've ever used.
that you don't get bored. It can work in specific live service games, where rather than a semi-open world concept, it launches new stages in patches, so that it's designed in a way that your time sink is segmented in blocks.
So the main thing that he's focusing on is that Arknights Endfield is simply a game that requires too much time in other areas, and so having this more streamlined combat does make the rest of the game feel more manageable. And I'm just going to be honest over here. Now that I'm thinking and listening to that reasoning, I think that they kind of just fucked up the balancing in the end game in terms of activities to do. Because I almost wish the combat took longer now just so I'd be able to do it for more of my daily gameplay loop. Sanity regenerates so slowly in this game that you actually are eligible to actually like fight stuff 2 times, like once every 2 days. So realistically, you get combat once every 2 days in this game, and your sanity it regenerates so slowly, it's not worth it in like other aspects. This is probably the game with the least amount of combat, and it's like surprising because this game's combat is actually some of the best stuff in the gacha genre. And they push forward all these menus and activities and all these other like idle things and menus instead. And this game feels more like a management sim and a job than a game by the end game.
This is a very simple way for me to explain to you that in my perspective, the technical test combat would have been terrible for the game. For those who think that the current combat is bad, I'm telling you that the technical test would have actually been worse in my view.
But this is also my take. Just like how we're saying Tobaro is overly glazing how good the technical test combat was, in this sense, we also can't prove that it would have been bad as well, right? I'm trying to be very fair here. For the same reasoning we said Tobaro can't like say it's better, we also can't take at face value 100%, right, that it would have been worse.
But I ask this again. How do you prove that what I just said is true?
Yeah, nah, he's on it.
You never
Nah, he's
played a
got it.
technical test. How do you
He's
know
covered.
what it really feels for yourself? If you're someone who formulated your assessment of Endfield using Tobaro's videos to then say Endfield is terrible, and to the extent that you haven't even played the game, why let someone dictate your thinking? To me, Tobaro has done perhaps the most damage to the Endfield community than anyone else.
Hey, I'll take the W there, sir. I'll take the W there. Hey, at least he didn't say me. Tobaro's approach is fundamentally different from mine. Where Tobaro is kind of like outright with a video like this, saying that Endfield isn't for you, not because of like actual live issues, but because of like fundamental parts of his design. This is all from the closed beta. He'll tell you in this video, actually, that this is all based off of his take on the most recent closed beta. When it comes to other critiques of the game, the stuff that I've been talking about, there's genuinely a lot more from like the number of pulls, the actual live gameplay, the pacing, the need to rush exploration. Those are all things that are kind of like, you'll find them out immediately as you play. And making note of that, because they are the main thing stopping people from playing, I think is where we have a bit of a difference in our content. Because I have actually been one of the biggest supporters of this game because I play it so fucking much. There are very few CCs who have actually played the game more than me. And I've been basing all of my content around the actual free-to-play experience and every single struggle someone's going to run into along that way, so I can basically help people mitigate the problems that will come up. And there's been new problems coming up, new hidden like spikes, trap doors, you know, just like random like arrows coming out of nowhere. That's what it feels like playing this game. Just something random and new that fucks you over every single day. And I think like that is just fundamentally something that needs to be called out early on, because a lot of these issues don't appear until you have like 40, 50, 60 hours of playtime. They don't exist in the early parts of the game. They show up here and then they make a lot of the game feel really bad. That's the situation I think Endfield is in right now. I think it needs a lot of help, a lot of TLC from the devs. And I think I'm one of the most qualified people to say it because I'm done with the game.
For inciting the perspective that the developers lost their vision or have no backbone to support their own passion. Who are any of us to judge what is the actual intended vision of the game?
I have my opinion that Hypergrift is one of the greediest motherfuckers I've ever seen because of their implementation of the gacha and the currency in-game, where everything's expiring, you have pity carryover everywhere, weapon banners, like you need to waste your character pulls to get like weapons, blah, 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 all of that stuff. I don't really know, right? And like the thing is, guys, there's a lot of things you can say about Hypergrift. If you want to call them greedy, go for it. If you want to call them lazy for their lack of response, go for it. If you want to call them spineless because they refuse to address the PayPal situation, still, yes, all of those things. But to go ahead and make the viewpoint that this was like a bad game with bad design, I think publishers are the ones that ruined this game the most. Publishers and the marketing team. I think the game design team, the programming team, the art team, the visual team, basically everyone except the people that did the splash arts, because I think the splash arts look really bad in this game. But other than that, right, I think a lot of people did a really good job with this. But so much of it ends up getting ruined, literally because of how greedy so many people got, right? It got ruined because of how greedy so many people were. And I don't know, it's just a little bit painful to see. So much hard work essentially sacrificed for no goddamn reason. And I still think there's room for the game to be saved. I still think that there's room, right? Because a lot of what's going on here is great. It's just when you get to this point, you start to wonder, where did it all go wrong?
Tests are called tests for a reason. They tested and they go by what they believe will fulfill their vision. I said this at the start of the video, and I say it again. Endfield right now is not flawless. I might even say it's got a lot of flaws.
Thank God. And I bet Kuki Kaze probably has similar concerns to everything that I just said right now, because I don't know how you don't as a player. Endfield literally has the worst 1.0 end game gameplay loop I have ever seen in a game before. And I don't mean this to like say that other games are better. It's that Endfield's is atrociously bad.
But despite that, it's a very enjoyable game for many. Whether those flaws can fix itself is what we are paying attention to for those of us choosing to stay.
And that's where I'm at right now. I am desperately hoping we see changes to monetization. I am desperately hoping we see changes to the endgame loop. I am desperately hoping we see less of a reliance to giga optimize the factory and your ship and all these other things to have any semblance of regular income. I desperately hope sanity generation literally gets fucking doubled, and the rewards from these stages also literally get doubled. Because you want to know one post I've actually seen on the Endfield subreddit? Oh my gosh, it's brutal. It's literally brutal. I think somebody showed how much sanity is required to like level up a unit to 80. 1 to 90 is 12 days, 9 hours worth of sanity for a single unit. A single unit takes 12 days and 9 hours. Remember, you have to split this sanity across not just that. Guys, remember this, right? You got to split this sanity. What's not showing up here That's just EXP. What do you need to level up the characters as well, bro? It actually takes probably 20 days because you got to get all of these, right? Don't you need these for the promotions? Don't you need to farm the credits too? And don't you need these for the skills? Then you need this for the weapon too. Then you need this for level 90. Remember, you got to farm these ones as well for the 80 to 90 upgrade. So you have like this protocol. You got the crisis drills after that. So in reality, I think it's legitimately like 20 plus days for one unit. I would like not be surprised. Obviously, they're only counting EXP here. They're not counting like what does it cost to do a full zero? Bro, it's gotta be like 40 days. Like more than one patch to 0 to 90, 10 out of 10 a unit. Guys, isn't that just ridiculous? Like it doesn't seem play tested, right? And that's the type of stuff that this game released with, bro. And if the system stays like that, people are just the game's going to EOS. Because you can't do anything without spending money. You literally can't do anything without spending money. That's actually a fact with rates like that. It's a pay-to-play game at that point. And so when you know income is that bad, right? What do you feel forced to do? Go to the stock redistribution, right? To be able to go buy all the stuff on cooldown. And then, of course, you also got to make sure that you fully upgrade your fucking DJ Khaled ship up here, right? You got to make sure you fully upgrade DJ Khaled, hit him with another one, and then also just fucking micromanage your operators' moods and their, like, the manufacturing lines and shit. And also, get the longest loading screens in the game, because the more you build your factory, the laggier the game gets, and teleporting to DJ Khaled takes up, like, your entire fucking CPU. Oh, and then, yep, just make sure that you gotta optimize this. Make sure your characters aren't too pissed off. And gotta add friends, too, so you can get, like, a fucking mood injection. Like, bro, does this look like something you're gonna play for a month if this is everything you're doing every day? This is not fun.
I can't guarantee I'm going to be a long-time player for a year or more.
Nobody is going to be playing Endfield for a year if that is what the gameplay loop is. Nobody will be playing this game for a year if that's what the gameplay loop is. And guys, this is the Endfield guy saying this. He's the Arknights guy, bro. He has 1,000 videos on Arknights. He's the OG shill, and he's saying the game has so many issues, I can't see myself playing it for more than a year. But people will still tell me that I'm being toxic, or that I'm just being toxic and doom posting, guys. Remember, it's just tribalism. Remember, guys, it's just woo-wah CCs shitting on Endfield. Don't listen to an actual Endfield CC or an actual Arknights CC with 1K plus videos.
But I know I'm happy to see what they are going to do in the coming patches.
I am eagerly awaiting that as well.
When describing the state of combat, does the current combat really have no strategy at all?
It has a lot. The combat has so many timing elements where you can decide too. One of the coolest things I think is in the game is the fact that when I'm using my Yvonne team, and I'll just illustrate a little bit of it for you. Here is basically one of the cool ways you can do the tech in this game. Yvonne's skill will freeze enemies, solidify them if they have cryo infliction on. But it has a very big travel time. It takes like a second in the air after she casts it for it to actually hit the enemy. And so you can actually like optimize your rotations by throwing her skill out and then applying cryo. Here's an example of it. I use Zaihi's skill over here before the battle even starts to like get free SP. I start the battle, right? Here's some of the depth. I have free SP right now, basically, right? We then do our 2 final strikes over here, right? And now check this out. I can now skill. And we got the solidify off. And then save some time. That's pretty neat that you're able to queue up your actions and get it done that way in this game. But that's the level of depth that you have in the combat. And because it's so action-oriented and you can do, like, those fast presses, the end result is that, well, guys, it's, like, pretty fun. This is also one of my favorite ones to do, right? I can now basically use, like, 17 abilities at once. And then basically trigger, like, all of those at once. And that's when I have ultimates. I can basically do, like, a Giga Burst rotation. applying like all the effects and like just doing it all at once. So that alone, to me, even in just one team, is a lot of depth in the combat. There's like text, there's like strict timing you can input as well. I find it to be a lot of fun. It's just unique. You need the characters to discover these mechanics. You need the characters to be able to discover these interactions. And if you don't have them, guys, well, how are you going to have the fun playing them? So, again, the lack of gacha pulls is what makes the combat feel so bad. Because you need the characters to discover the mechanics, to have the fun, but you don't have any pulls to get the characters unless you play the game like a job. And if you're playing the game like a job, 60 hours of playtime for the first pity, and you're using the same 3 characters and you don't get to explore any of the combat in the process, that's why people think the combat isn't good. It's a self-inflicted issue from developer greed. A self-inflicted issue from developer greed because they couldn't give out pulls. So you couldn't build teams. And the latest thing is, obviously, right? We just talked about the lack of resources. Even when you get the new character, you don't have enough to level them up. So I have Levy, but it's like I don't have her. Because there's no resources in the game to do anything with her. I have pulled almost 25 stars and still no Arknights, so I can't play the electric team. If only you could build pity, bro. You might have gotten her. So yes, this is just talking more and more, guys, about the fact that, yes, Endfield has massive issues. Massive issues, independent of other games. Fundamental design flaws that will make playing this game in the long term very difficult for very many people.
Really have no strategy at all. It's a big ongoing debate.
And remember, he's addressing the point that Enfield's current combat has no strategy. Our entire little excerpt over there was to show that there's actually a lot of strategy.
But I've made another review video that touches on that. If you want to hear it, I invite you to watch that whenever. Also, you can
We might watch that one too.
watch the 2-hour session where I converse with Tobaro about one of his inflammatory videos. Link is in the description. You'll understand my disappointment with how he has broken so many things he said he would and wouldn't do. Don't go yet, I'm closing out this video. Time and time again, he says that he wants the best for Endfield, wanting the game to succeed. But why does his actions not sync with his words? He goes on about how a game for the masses isn't good. But is it just a game that isn't for him that isn't good? He wants the game his way and made 6 different attempts to find new followers of his idea that perhaps was never going there to begin with.
It does seem like a relatively pointless effort, right? And it is the same level of pointlessness that you would think about looking at all the people that keep asking for the darkness and the grit of Wuwa CBT1 story. You still have people to this day talking about that, right? Repeatedly saying it over and over. And it just keeps going until it eventually dies out. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Tobaro over here. It seems like there's just a lot of overall toxicity in the Arknights space that leads to takes like this where you can't really prove anything, and it's like not really like it's kind of like an indefensible argument, but it's also like a not effective one because you can't prove anything. But then you just like keep going and keep going and going when you know like it doesn't matter, but then it's just it can't lead to any actionable change. And so I guess the ask is, why are we just doing this over and over again?
Now that the game is out, there is no way he goes back to the same plot.
Yeah.
Like as if he cannot get over his ex. I don't know what to say if he runs it for the 7th time. There's definitely a divide between me and Tobaro. But I don't want a divide for you guys watching where you choose whose side to agree with. In fact, just don't take sides. You have the autonomy to think for yourself.
And I urge you, play Arknights Endfield. Get to level 50. Get to where I am in the game and tell me the endgame loop is good. If you can't get there, then clearly there was a different problem in the game that stopped that. And so, until you can prove that you are also level 50, and you're where I am in the game, your take on Endfield legitimately is not valid. It can't be, because you haven't seen what I've seen, and you haven't experienced what I've experienced. And I've experienced the end of the game. Again, it is the worst one in the space. Level 50 with the max factory. Good lord, the fun, there is no fun to be had anywhere.
I end with the quote from his first video. A game for everyone is a game for no one. To Tobaro, who I know you're watching, have you thought that you're doing all this for yourself instead of for the game or the community? A game not for you does not mean it's not a game for a lot of other people. That's all I can say.
I think Arknights is a game that has the potential to reach a lot of people. But unfortunately, so many people are going to be turned off by the greed, and that's going to kill a certain part of the population. And the end game, if the greed wasn't enough to get rid of them, the end game will. And the more I see, I hope to see more and more CCs addressing this once they get to the end game and they start actually seeing what the loop is. Because, brother, this is not sustainable. You just need to play one set of dailies in the end game, and you'll see this is not sustainable. Like, you are not going to be playing this for very long. And with how stingy the devs are pull-wise, on top of how bad the loop is, guys, it ain't even like it's a bad gameplay loop and you're getting a lot of pulls. It's a bad gameplay loop and you're getting no pulls. Like, that's just rough, man. It's just rough. It doesn't feel particularly good.
What are you trying to do? What is your main objective?
I didn't say that, though.
Oh, this is a bit of a chat between them.
Hang on, no, that's a misrepresentation of what I said. I didn't say the game's going to shit. I said I'm disappointed in the direction. I'm disappointed in this decision. I said my passion for the game remains the same. I said I'm still looking forward to Endfield. I said I'll still be there no matter what. I said I'm still going to make all the content I was intending to make before. I didn't say the game's going to shit. That's a misrepresentation.
And I don't see any content. What content you were going to make before? Proof? Hey, it's been 9 days since release. I don't see a single goddamn video. What content? What did he have planned? I think it's kind of crazy to say you got content planned, but in 9 days since release, you don't got a single video on the game. Do you kind of like see why I had a bias against this guy going into this? Do you guys kind of like see why I had a bias against Tobaro going into this? Is it not? I don't even think I need to explain why I had a bias against him.
Does it come to this point of they have to follow what your dodge is in order for them to be doing it right?
No, they don't. They don't have to listen to me specifically.
This is videos him baby raging that they fixed the dodge and didn't listen to him. Dude, he should have just... I'm not gonna lie, Kuki. In future videos, you're like good at this, bro. You need to put this shit at the start of the video because then everyone is just like fucking clowning on him at minute 1. And then, low-key, like, yeah, you just be cooking for the rest of it. You should have put this at the start, homeboy.
I have no intention of becoming a drama CC. I just... You know, I play the YouTube game a little bit, but...
Bro, why is this so brutal? Dude, this guy is cooking.
It happens to be...
It's just silence. But the silence is deafening.
The 3 videos I've made about Endfield so far have like had this tone to them. This is not a...
Hey, yo, Kuki, why you trying not to laugh, bro? It's disrespectful, bro. Why you trying not to laugh, bro? Come on, man, bro. Why you trying not to laugh, Kuki? Come on, bro. That's disrespectful, bro.
Tone that I intend to, like, carry through.
Dude, he looks so mad. He's like, dude, he's about to go Super Saiyan. Dude, he's like, veins be all bulging and shit. He's like, holy shit. He's about to crash out. Bro, that is like 5 seconds before crash out.
All of my Endfield videos, if that's of any comfort, and that's never been my intention. That's just kind of how it's played out.
He's cooked. Bro, he's about to go. Holy shit. Bro, holy shit.
You can say it here, but it's not meant to be said here. This is meant to be said on your own space when you can.
Yeah, I know, but like, just if it's of any comfort to you, you know.
Bro, that's the end of the video. Bro, that's just the end of the video. Oh my lord. Okay. Naturally, you can probably guess what's coming up next. This was a pretty, I would say, sizable dismantling of Tobaro's approach to Endfield and his takes on it. And so, naturally, right, there's a couple of things I think to take away. Kuki actually agrees with Tobaro on a lot of counts that are mentioned in this video. I think there are naturally just going to be some baseline issues with Endfield that everyone's going to unilaterally agree with. But there are going to be parts of this, obviously, based off that whole, like, that whole technical test, all the jargon and all of like the takes regarding that, I think that's where they have a bit of a, obviously, a bit of a stance. And when you're at the point where the game has released and you can't stop talking about the technical test, guys, this is just woo-wah CBT1 story is better when it's actually not. Hey, can we go back to that over and over again, just like it was in woo-wah when 2.0 and Ridacita launched? People couldn't stop talking about how much they needed that. They needed their amazing CBT back. You can determine CBT. You can determine that abbreviation however you want. It's probably still accurate, right? So I see the same thing going on over here. But naturally, the next step for us is to actually watch this fucking video and give our takes on it as somebody who's beat Arknights Endfield. Because I'm done with the game. And so who's more equipped to comment on this video than somebody who's beat the game? That'll be what happens up next. Be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a fucking long one. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.